Morning, ladies and gentlemen. Hope you're all well. Baalbek, Lebanon. We're on the channel. Subtle Mystery and TV is the name of the channel. Baalbek, the mystery of the 1,000-ton stones. Baalbek in Lebanon. So, ancient, ancient sites. Well, we say ancient, but we don't really know. To be honest, that's the other side of it. It appears to be ancient, but it's just pre-flood as well. So we don't. I mean, personally, I don't think this timeline that we live in is correct. Again, this whole like the Dark Ages, where 1,000 years nothing happened. We didn't innovate in any way as a human race, which is very strange when you actually, if you look back at history. And the human beings have always innovated, to be honest. The tale of being Stone Age people and bronze tools and all this bollocks. It is basically bollocks because all the structures around the world tell you it's bollocks, like this in front of you right now. Yeah, it's all a bit of a lie, it would seem, history. And again, these dark ages where nothing happened, it pretty much. Well, there is no history there. So again, there is this sort of theory that people have just added 1,000 years to the timeline, and the Dark Ages didn't in fact happen, and it's just made up to fill in some time. Which is it's a possibility. Like that's the thing. It's a possibility because it's very very strange for nothing to have happened and the human race not to have innovated when in all of history where we have some sort of historical record, the human race did kind of innovate. And again, we were moving blocks of this size. I mean, look at the size of this block. There is a man in the background here, as we can see up at the top. I'll make it big screen. So we can see a man or a woman here stood next to this block, right? And this is one that hasn't been put in situ. This has been carved out, but it hasn't been finished. There's plenty of these blocks in place. I mean, many of them as well. The entire foundations of an area is made of these blocks. And yeah, look at the size of it. Absolutely, look at the size of it. We couldn't lift this today. We literally could not lift this today with any technology that we have. 1,000-ton bit of stone and more than one. Again, uh, this is the mystery of the Baalbek, Lebanon. To be honest, this is the big thing about it. The stones of this caliber, of this size, being used in the building. And yeah, history cannot explain how they were moving blocks of such size back then into place or doing half of the stuff they've done. To be honest, never mind. It's not just Baalbek. There's thousands of these sites. Some of them are at the top of mountains, all sorts, stones, unbelievable sizes, like the pyramids of Giza. Now, there's no way on earth, I'll tell you now. This whole story of slaves pulling blocks of this caliber along on bits of fucking wood. It didn't happen. It absolutely just did not happen. It didn't happen. There's no wood in the world would be underneath this stone and survive. It would be fucking crushed. You wouldn't. You're not rolling this stone on wood. You're not dragging this stone with ropes. It's not happening. It's literally not happening. So you need another explanation, and science and history is very much struggling to explain most of these sites. Why they pretty much don't mention them. If you look into these things, you see these things, you find these things, and you can't explain these things. So history and science just doesn't really want to mention them, to be honest, because it starts putting major holes in the fucking history timeline here that we were figuring out fire 12,000 years ago and bronze tools, etc. Yet we were lifting blocks of this caliber and carving blocks of this caliber. We were cutting through stone, as we mentioned in previous videos. We were cutting through stone like it was butter and moving stone like it was made of fucking hair, you know what I mean? Like a hair block or something. It's fucking, there's no weight in this. So that's the mystery of Baalbek, Lebanon, as if people didn't know. That's kind of when we go on about Baalbek being one of these sites. It's in particular the reason that Baalbek is mentioned is because of this caliber stone, and there's many stones of this size been put in place. This one hasn't. It could have been stopped during the flood, perhaps possibly yet again they were stopped in their tracks, and a flood wiped out them before they got finished doing the job is a possibility. Again, many of these sites seem unfinished, and they were carving through rock like it was stone, yet they didn't seem to finish what they were carving. So there is a good argument that something stopped these people in their tracks, a cataclysm of sorts, and we do have a mention of a big flood many times throughout the entire world and many cultures. So it's a good explanation to what really happened as well, to be honest, to why these things didn't get finished. So we'll have I'll listen to the channels, subtle mystery in TV, I think it is. Yeah, this is Baalbek, and again, some of the mysteries of Baalbek, and then not just this, many sites all around the world, all fucking, we couldn't build half of them now. So it proves a couple of things. Well, it proves that these people either had a knowledge or technology that we do not have in the past, which proves that people weren't figuring out fucking bronze and fire and all this shit. They were doing stuff that we couldn't do. So there is tales of giants. Obviously, we mentioned the giants, the Nephilim, the Raphaim, the Anakim. But the original Nephilim, the ones born from the Watchers, the original, they were the very intelligent and taught many things by the Watchers. And one were the actual Titans, I believe, that grew to immense sizes, being the first generation, and every subsequent generation seems to have got smaller down the line to the point where we've maybe even eradicated the giants through time and losing whatever was making them giants seems to have dissipated through time. So through subsequent generations, perhaps the giants been thinked out of them, but we also seen as well the possibility that the planet can't support them as well. That's another theory, again, kind of backed by science in many ways in terms of animals and trees and fauna. Used to be a lot bigger. So that's another possibility. But the fact of the matter is, giants existed. Giants very much did exist of very various sizes. Many reports there of, again, when you're saying 7 foot, for me, 7 foot's not a giant. I'm not having that as a giant, really. It's a big man, it's a big woman, it's a big man. But it's still kind of in the realms of possibility. We do have 6 foot people. I mean, we have the odd seven, I suppose. So 7 foot's not a giant for me. When we're talking 9, 10, and above 9 and 10 feet, we get a lot of eights as well. But when we're going above 9, that's a giant for me, and 10 and 11 and 12. And when we're getting into ridiculous numbers, and again, some of these numbers are ridiculous. Like you're talking giants 25 feet tall, like measuring cubits in them times. But giants of immense sizes, which again, you double somebody's size, you double the strength. So a lot of this could have been moved by giants, but you would need giants of unbelievable stature to move something of this size. But was that the way of it? That's the other side of it. Just because it sounds fantastical, it doesn't mean it didn't happen. That's unfortunately like because there's very much a massive history of giants on the planet, folklores, tales, you name it. Most cultures, to be honest, most cultures speak of giants and sky gods and all this kind of crack. So that was history, really. Giants, sky gods, and fucking a whole fantastical world of fucking Avatar or some shit. Who knows? Like madness in many ways. Again, I used to be an atheist, so it's always very hard to say all this stuff when you used to be an atheist and know why people think the way they think, and but they just don't really have all the knowledge. And again, as I mentioned before, the giants are a massive part of the proof that the fucking Bible's true. Do you know what I mean? Because the giants came from a biblical source. So anyway, let's have a look at Baalbek.
Although we have already considered numerous prehistoric megastructures, the ancient ruins of Baalbek in modern-day Lebanon are perhaps the most compelling evidence of a highly advanced civilization that is missing from our history books. This monumental complex, with its enormous megalithic stones, some weighing over 1,000 tons, defies explanation within the framework of conventional archaeology. Baalbek is located in northeastern Lebanon, about 100 kilometers from Beirut, making it a difficult destination even today. The complex rises to an elevation of around 1,000 meters on a sacred hill in the fertile beach.
I mean, what it must have been one hell of a complex when it was still in situ. Again, look at these columns and the size of everything here. Again, was this devastated by a flood, a global cataclysm? And again, the stone is quite strong. We see many of these sites with pillars still standing and various stonework still in situ, but a lot of it are gone, damaged, destroyed. Even the Romans, I mentioned this before. It kind of seems like we've had a cataclysm since the Roman times because all the Roman ruins we've dug up and a lot of it's been destroyed as well. And again, it kind of fits the thing of a flood. A lot of these stones seem like they've all been knocked by a real force of nature, to be honest. And again, a massive flood, a tidal wave of supreme force could be the force that done that. And again, you wouldn't really get winds strong enough, so it's a very good explanation as well to why all these sites are battered and bruised, and we dug them up. Some sort of cataclysm has happened since the Roman times. That's why I'm kind of thinking the historical timeline is wrong, because all these Roman ruins are battered and bruised, and we dug them up as if some sort of cataclysm has happened. And again, look, like this site would have been absolutely magnificent in it when it was back in the day, when all there's pillars here still, there's a pillar here. So there was multiple more pillars and buildings, but they've all been knocked to the ground and absolutely um, beaten to death here, it would seem. So again, it seems to me like some cataclysm has done this site in, and again, the Romans were apparently built this section here. And the tale is the original big stones we're talking of wasn't the Romans, it was before the Romans, and then the Romans have come along and built on top of the site after the original builders. So the big stones were pre-flooding it. But the historical timeline says that this all was done after the flood, in the Roman times, but I've got a problem with that because again, some of this stonework is of immense size. So again, there was in the historical timeline. Apparently, there was still giants in the Roman times because there were still giants 200 years ago, 300 years ago. So again, the timeline's wishy-washy because the giants probably did help in the Roman Empire. They were probably gladiators. They were probably some of the best warriors in the armies of the Romans, and possibly why the Romans walked across the world like they did. They had not just immense armies, but they had possible giants in the armies, which would be the fighting force of 3 or 4 men. Do you know what I mean? You get a couple of giants in your army, and you'll wipe the floor here. So, but it would also explain how you're building these structures still, because the Romans, again, although they were quite an advanced civilization with aqueducts and all these sort of things, they still didn't have machinery to like cranes like we did, and to look at the size of some of these buildings yet again. So I find it very hard to believe, personally, that the Romans were knocking up temples of this caliber by hand. Do you know what I mean? There's got to be another factor, and all these people were working with stone again, like it was butter. So it's. I wonder if the flood, or we've had two floods. I don't know, or was the Romans before the flood, and that the flood's timeline's all wrong here. I don't know. I really do not know. That's the problem. But I just can't. It doesn't quite fit for me that there was a flood. We had all these great stone workers. We had a flood, and then we come back, and the Romans were still knocking up shit like this, which was kind of like Too good for the time. Too good for the time. Too bigger blocks. Too heavy of stones. All this stone's got to be mined, quarried, and moved miles and miles. It's all a massive, massive job back then if you don't have some level of technology that we're not sort of being told of. And again, how do you lift all these pillars into place? But then once you've got the pillars into place, how are you getting this massive section of stone on the top? So it's not impossible, but it seems very very far fetched that people in sandals were fucking building all this shit. Do you know what I mean? It's just very far fetched when you really start thinking about it. So this would have been magnificent, and again, the claim is that all this was built by the Romans after the original people had built Baalbek. But that's just a theory. It is very much just a theory. It's again, we weren't there, so I mean, how the hell do we know, really? I mean, how you can't carbon date stone is another side of it. Like, if it tells you how old the stone is, not when somebody put it where it was at. So I don't know if any of this is correct. This is the problem with history. We don't quite know. We know a lot of the facts of the matter, but we don't know when the facts of the matter actually happened in terms of the year. Is a big problem with history. I'm seeing here that this timeline we've got, it's all this again, the Middle Ages, this 1,000 years of nothing happening. Yeah, whenever the human beings were doing anything else, we look what we were building. You know what I mean? We were building fucking shit left, right, and centre here, all through the ages, innovating technology, creating. All of our lifetimes in the modern history has always been innovation, and yet apparently for 1,000 years we've done fuck all. So it's very hard to believe if you really start thinking about that as well. So amazing site, Baalbek. If you've never heard of it, let's say a bit more.
Valley. Long before the Romans conquered the area and built their monumental temple of Jupiter, and even before the Phoenicians built a temple to the god Baal here, Baalbek was home to the largest stone block construction in the world. The conventional narrative of Baalbek's history is one of Roman engineering. The Temple of Jupiter, one of the largest temples of the Roman Empire.
Yeah, one of the largest temples in the Roman Empire. So let's just go back slightly to get a good look at this. So there's people stood at the bottom here. Look, look. People are stood at the bottom here. So this column is what? 6, 12, 18, 24, 30, 36, 42, 48, 54, 60. So we're talking at least, what, 70, 80 foot tall pillars. Not one, two, three, four, five, six, eight in this picture alone. And these pillars went right round the building. I mean, some could say they were built in sections. There is a line here and a line here, and these are cracked, but it could just be cracked because there doesn't seem to be cracks in many of the pillars, although there is a line there, and there is a line there. So where the pillars built in sections, but there'd be no stability in the pillars if they're just placed on top of each other. There's got to be metal rods in the middle or something to hold them, which again shows a very good level of technology, to be honest, if they are in sections with metal stabilizers through the middle. You had to carve out the middles to put this metal stabilizers, the supports in, so to speak. So again, a level of technology. It's all very much carved precisionally at the top here, carving through stone. Yet again, like it was butter, moving massive amounts of stone. So I mean, one answer for the Romans, if this was a later date, is it was built in sections. We can see lines, but not in all of them. That's the problem. These two don't really appear to have lines, unless it's just been smoothed out in the aftermath better than the others. But I don't know. But still, unbelievable sizes. You know what I mean? We're talking what, 70, 80 foot tall concrete pillars, many, many.
Temples of the Roman Empire still stands as a
Even here, when we're saying carving through stone like it was butter, look at the detail, the level of detail. Even just this section here, which is just squiggly lines. But look at the detail. Look at how much carving that will have taken. The lion's head, you name it, everything carved to precision, beautifully. Again, carving through stone like it was butter. So you can't imagine these people just doing this by hand with bronze and shitty tools. It would have literally took forever, and they've done this everywhere. So it kind of you've got to have had some sort of technology we're just completely unaware of. If not up to the level of what we have today, possibly further, to be honest, again with the original stones of Baalbek that we're talking about here. We'll see some better pictures of them in a moment. I'll play a bit on.
Testament to the power and reach of Roman architecture. But beneath the Roman structure lies a series of massive megalithic blocks, known as trilithons, which form part of the foundation of the temple complex. Each of these blocks measures over 19 meters long, over 4 meters high, and over 3 meters thick, and weighs around
Yeah, I mean, look at the size of it. It's ridiculous. Wait and see in a moment.
900 tons. This makes them among the largest stones ever.
Yeah, so again, I think they're claiming all this is the Romans still, but again, it's still unbelievable stonework, the likes of which we've never seen really. Again, we don't build shit like this in modern times, and the beauty of that is, if you build a building like this, or like a lot of them have, they literally, like, it kind of takes a cataclysm to wipe them out here, you know what I mean? They'll last forever. So, well, why don't we build things of such caliber anymore? And the answer is because it's not fucking easy. That's why. It's easier to build things the way we build them out of small bricks. You know what I mean? Like the Romans are that clever, right? They're building but they couldn't think of just building stuff out of small bricks to make things a lot easier. And the answer is, of course they did, but they built these as well. And they went to the effort and the trouble to build all these super temples and fucking things of amazing caliber, of amazing stature and stone. And they were well aware you could build things out of small bricks and it was fucking easier, but they didn't take the easy option. They built these amazing places. Yeah, we don't bother. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, we live in like this time of technology and grandeur, and we're all fucking think we're class now. Yeah, we don't bother building anything of these caliber anymore because some would say it's too much effort to do, cost too much money, moving the blocks. It's all a logistical nightmare. So let's not bother. Let's just make it out of smaller stones. So again, the Romans and the pre-flood people were not thinking in this way, were they? There was no. Oh, well, that's a bit of an effort. Let's not bother. Let's fucking build the best fucking temples you ever seen in your life. So it smacks of having a technology as well that we clearly do not know about, because all this is far too much effort to be done by fucking hand. Is the real truth of it. It's too much effort to be done by hand and have no technology and carve all these blocks in all these places so beautifully. It's all too much effort to be done by hand, in honesty.
Moved, lifted, and stacked by humans. For comparison, each of these stones weighs around 36 times as much as the blocks at Stonehenge and around 10 times as much as the largest stones used in the construction of the.
So 36 times the size of the largest stone at Stonehenge, 36 times the weight, and 1,000 times, I believe, in the Pyramid of Giza, right in the middle of the Giza Pyramid. There's stones of unbelievable size that you don't really get to see from the outside of the pyramids, but there's big stones within the inner sections. Again, here's more carvings of unbelievable. Again, and this has all been weathered in time. God knows how long it's been sat there. If there was a cataclysm, we don't know. But yet again, just carving of unbelievable detail on everything that's possible.
Pyramid of Cheops at Giza. Despite their enormous size.
So here we are. These are the stones, or some of them. And there's one end here at the tree. Here is the other end. Here is a human being stood underneath it. And yeah, not just one, two, three, four in the picture alone. And these are sort of, again, on top of as well, other big stones which are creating the foundations they will literally last forever, like forever. These foundations will be there forever of such caliber. Not even a cataclysm could move this. So yeah, a foundation of smaller stones, all in precision here, as we can see, and then dead level as well, flattened. And we've seen many plateaus of mountains flattened out. If you look down Mexico on that as well. So again, a level of technology though we do not have the leveling off tops of mountains back then. So look at the size of these stones. This is what the whole Baalbek crack is, really. That these stones here, and they've all been mined, they've all been crafted, they've all been put into place, and they're making a foundation of some sort of super, which the Romans have built on top, as we've seen. But originally, apparently, that wasn't the Romans, and that this was for something else. But yet, look at it. Look at the stones and all in place, and that's the foundations of something, a temple or a building that we're building. And yet again, we would not be able to do this today. We could not put stones of that size, quarry them, mine them, transport them, and put them in size. And it's at the top of a hill or a mountainish, like not a mountain, but I think it's at the top of a hill yet again up here. Yeah, we would. I mean, we could maybe do it, but it would be a real fucking effort. And again, why would we bother? We could just get smaller stones, and it'd be a lot easier to do, to be honest, and remove all the nightmares, the logistical nightmares of transportation and everything, and quarrying and everything at all, and just make it in a bit smaller. And again, these blocks here will probably do the same job. So why bother? But they did bother, and they done it because here it is. So amazing, really. And again, the claim that these people were trying to figure out fucking bronze tools and fire, yet they were fucking lifting blocks and doing things the likes of which we fucking couldn't probably do today, and really wouldn't bother doing because it's far too much effort and time and money. Is a lot easier ways of doing this. You don't need a such stone of this size for it to stay in situ. Is the real truth of it. So again, it wasn't needed, but it's been done.
Size, the blocks were brought from a quarry almost 1 kilometer away and then lifted to a height of around 9 meters, where they were placed on smaller stones weighing only 400 tons. They formed the foundation of the Heliopolis complex, on which the Roman temple was later built.
Again, without human beings next to it, it's very, very hard to sort of gauge the size of that there, I thought. But we did see humans stood to about there. Oh, there's one there in the bottom corner here. We can literally see. Tiny, absolutely tell.
Foundation.
Oh, zoom in. So there's a tiny guy there. Look at the size of this. And again, all the stonework that's actually on top. Again, this all has to be supported, and you know what I mean, and all this concrete or the stone on top's got to be supported, and it doesn't come down, and it's all still there. And God knows if this place has had earthquakes in time, but it's still in pretty good condition, to be honest. Again, if a flood had come and a massive surge of water, a tidal wave, again, it could hit this back section, completely destroy the back section. But by the time it gets to sort of here, it's lost a lot of its energy, and that could remain with a lot of structures. Do you know what I mean? It knocks half of it down, but the energy, the main energy of the strike's gone, and the rest of the temple remains. Again, kind of explains how these temples have been half destroyed. It has to have been a cataclysm. Again, there's not many things knocking this down. That's the other side of it, because look at what it's made of. Look at how strong and well it's built. It's going to take Mother Nature, to be honest. It's going to take Mother Nature to knock it down. Unless you go in with a crane, but who's going to do that? You know what I mean? And these things, again, we've found all these things and dug them up. So again, I'm not sure of the timeline here, but I think the Romans were possibly taken out by a cataclysm. So were the Romans before the flood? Who knows? But something's definitely happened to the Romans. All the Roman sites are smashed to bits here. I mean, we take Hadrian's Wall in England there, and it's all been levelled off to about what, 4 foot, 3 foot, and it's 3 or 4 foot all the way from sort of Carlisle to Newcastle. So where's all the stones gone? And if people were stealing these stones, is some of the claims, like with the pyramid, why did they stop at that level? Why have they stopped at that height? Why not steal all the wall? So it's as if that wall's been hit by maybe a cataclysm as well, and again the wall it's been smashed off at a certain height because due to the wave. But where the wave wasn't powerful, it's remained at the bottom because this whole explanation of somebody stole all the wall right from Carlisle to Newcastle at about and left it at a 4 foot height is a bit of a ridiculous explanation in many ways. Why wouldn't people have stole the full wall if they were stealing the wall for materials? Why would you stop at a certain height and leave the wall for the entire length of England so it become a tourist attraction in later years? Doesn't make a lot of sense, not logical. You would steal the full wall to the very bottom if you were stealing it for materials. So yet again, was the wall hit with a cataclysm, a tidal wave, and the majority of the wall was scattered God far and wide due to being hit by a tidal wave of immense force. And the reason none of the stones are there is because they're scattered all over the fucking lands. Again, some of these stones are miles away at this point. So that would kind of explain what happened to Adrian's Wall as well, in a way, because people stealing stones and leaving it at a 4 foot height to become a tourist attraction doesn't quite make sense, really, if you really think about it. Why wouldn't they steal all the stones if they were using it for building materials? So again, why did it, if they cared about history and they cared about preserving the wall, then you wouldn't have knocked the fucking wall down in the first place. You know what I mean? So again, it's as if it got hit by something, and the wall's been leveled off from Carlisle to fucking Newcastle are pretty much the same level right along the way. Same with a lot of these temples, the foundations and some of the building work remains, but the majority of it's gone. And like a lot of the sites you see, just like this, there's just stones scattered everywhere, bits of stone, cobble, like as if something's come along and smashed the shit out of this area. So it's kind of the crack for me. I think we've definitely had a flood. I know that for a fact. Every culture speaks of a flood. We've had a flood. We've had a worldwide flood. I believe they've found shellfish as well at the top of mountains, even possibly Mount Everest, and various places where there is no sea. We've found shellfish fossilized, so there was a global flood. This is kind of undeniable at this point. But when was it is the question, and has there been two, or what? There's talk of the mud flood, obviously with the Tartaria thing, but I'm not a big fan of that. Where did all the mud come from? You know what I mean? Like yeah, the mud has to come from somewhere. So how does mud just flood the world? You need to kind of explain these things. You know what I mean? You need to explain like in science and logic. And fair enough, we could have had a mud flood. I'm not disagreeing with that, but where did all the mud come from? It's more likely it was the actual flood that we're talking about, the global flood, and all this, it's silt and everything that's just got carried and then and deposited, and everything got buried with all the silt and everything because there was a global flood. That kind of explains why we dug everything up as well. Do you know what I mean? Even the Roman stuff, though, that's the problem. We dug all the Roman stuff up, so it's as if they were hit with a cataclysm. It wasn't the fall of an empire as we've been told. For me, anyway, it's as if the Roman Empire was taken out by a cataclysm, not the last days of Rome, not the fall of the economy and the empire. It's as if I mean, it is explained. We've been through it on the economy, and they were devaluing the denarius with the silver and everything, and that's it. That's possibly an explanation as well. I mean, that could have been the fall of Rome, but it just seems like again, why wouldn't people take up all the temples, even if Rome had fell? All these beautiful temples, you would take them up, wouldn't you, and just use them because they're beautiful, they're massive, and they're still here today, so they're clearly going to last. Yeah, again, here the one side of this temple has been decimated. So again, what is the answer? As we see on the bottom again here as well, look at the stones on the bottom again. They're unbelievable stonework, to be honest. And again, I don't think we can build shit like this now. Or if we can, it would take so long and cost so much money that we just wouldn't bother. But these people did. They did bother. You know what I mean? And at a time when they had apparently a lot less fucking technology and shit than we did. But I mean, the truth of that is, well, that's a lie, isn't it? Look at it. And then let's get back to the original stones that the whole video is about in the first place. That the fucking immense size, the immense sizes, the likes of which you've never seen.
of the Heliopolis complex, on which the Roman temple was later built. The precision with which these stones were hewn and aligned is extraordinary. They fit together almost seamlessly. The joints are so narrow that not a sheet of paper can fit between them. Unlike typical Roman construction methods, which
Not a sheet of paper can fit between them. Seriously, again, perfectly, again, the precision as well. It's got to be stable, being foundation, so it has to be perfectly level. It's all level. Stones here again, and massive calibers. Even these stones are pretty big, to be honest. So yeah, this is Baalbek, Lebanon, and again, unbelievable stonework, stone sizes, and no real explanations from science and history as to how any of this was done, to be honest, because they can't explain it. That's the other side of it.
aimed for visible splendor and aesthetics, the trilithons were not intended to be seen. They were concealed in the foundation, invisible, and apparently served purely structural purposes. This raises the
Yeah, again, it's like it wasn't done to show off. They're just leveling some ground out here to build some super temple.
question: why would a culture go to such lengths to move and set these massive blocks only to bury them? There are no Roman records of how such an architectural masterpiece came to be. The Romans, famous for their meticulous documentation of almost all major construction projects, left no account of the movement of these gigantic stones or their insertion into the foundation of the Temple of Jupiter. In addition, the different construction methods at Baalbek, from the precisely crafted megalithic blocks in the foundation to the comparatively cruder stonework of the Roman superstructures, indicate that the complex went through several phases of development. It is noticeable that the older construction phase appears to have been more technically advanced. Furthermore, according to current knowledge,
Yeah, again, it's still though. Yeah, again, I'm not disagreeing that the original stonework foundations wasn't the Romans. Again, that's kind of what the tale is, that it wasn't the Romans. But I still think the Romans must have had a level of technology. Again, look at these pillars here and the stonework that's still placed on top of it, hasn't fell off. Again, how did they get that up there? And it would looked a lot bigger than that. It's obviously pillars have fell and it's split, as you can see. So how the hell were they getting lifting these things up to these heights with pulleys? And you know what I mean? It just all seems a bit far fetched. So again, this pillar on this fucking pole here, on this one here, and it's all a lot of work. Yeah, it's all a lot of work. Again, we would use cranes. Do you know what I mean? So did they have a level of a crane that we were just completely unaware of? Again, there's something. You know what I mean? But again, and have we had two floods? Like I don't know. But I'm not claiming the original work is the Roman work, and there is maybe time between them. But both of these civilizations clearly fucking knew shit we didn't. For me, anyway, even carving all these Roman pillars and some of the stuff that they built, to claim that people were wandering around in fucking sandals building all this shit, it's just far fetched for me.
the largest Roman cranes could only lift around 60 tons. It is therefore
Well, there we go. They've got cranes, 60 tons. No, that's decent. It's a decent lift. Do you know what I mean? It's a decent lift, but again, I mean, there's one on the floor that's still going to be quarried out as well. This is like that one, this one, there's another one here, been started. All this bedrock's going to be carved away. And yeah, they're just literally carving stone out of the floor, and this is going to be the foundations of a building. Unbelievable, unbelievable. Like, absolutely just unbelievable. Again, that this hasn't been finished. They were carving the bottom bit next. But once they got so far on the bottom, how did they stabilize it? You know what I mean? Like something was going on we don't know. You know, that's all I can say. Something was going on that we do not know. So I'm gonna leave it there. And yeah, I've only played 3 minutes of the 20-minute video, but again, I don't think I've ever mentioned Baalbek before, but we mentioned it quite a lot, but never sort of shown the stones and what was going on. But yet again, moving and lifting stone and carving through stone like it was butter back then, not a problem for them. and moving stones of unbelievable size that apparently they didn't have the technology to lift. So were they doing it with? The questions remain, but again, looks like a flood as well, a double flood. I don't know, but the questions remain. I'll leave it there, Pete.